Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds, by nerds, hanging out with these nerds.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan Nerdark.
And today we want to do a video on what makes a villain villainous.
Villainy, of course.
Villainy, yes.
Yeah. But before we get on to Villainy, you can check out Nerdarchy, the newsletter down below, for your handy email address that will give you some tips, tricks, and you can also find out how to game with Nerdarchy. So back to discussions of Villainy.
Alright, so I guess in the one-shot group, Lloyd Collins had actually asked, had started a post and asked, what kind of villain do people like? Me personally, I like the noble villain, like the old school Magneto, who's doing all the wrong shit for the right reasons.
Yeah.
That's definitely my favorite.
Well, I mean, more dimension than just I'm evil and twirling my mustache at you. Yeah. So
should go to Nate.
I like the kind of like more intellectual villains over the
Brawny.
I'm going to go to raise a village to the ground kind of thing. So
It's a hobby.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could go do that when he's feeling ragey, but I would say I really like the not the people that doing the right things for the wrong reasons, but doing what they desire at the
expense of society,
expense of whatever.
Yeah,
and that they're really into it. It might seem, you say 2 sentences about the guy, and it might seem really two-dimensional, but by the time, like, oh, why are goblins attacking this village? But by the time that the players even interact with the villain, they've really got an understanding that something really stranger or like beyond the pale is going on. And once they get into it and actually meet him and talk with him, they're just like, this guy is freaking crazy. Like, I like that. And not like...
But there's different kinds of crazy, like sociopath crazy.
No, not...
Or just like immoral.
Not like Joker crazy, but just like whatever he wants, whatever his vision for his future is,
he'll do whatever.
Shouldn't be allowed to pass because it might be great for him, but it stinks for everyone else. Like the kind of... It feels really black and white, but as long as you flesh out the character, I like doing that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I mean, I'll do the other ones, but
you can draw,
that's my go-to.
You can draw inspiration from various stuff, like on Jessica Jones, like the David Tennant's character in that show. Like, he's a sociopath. Like, he has no moral compass. Like, he tries to like kind of empathize with people, but it's so over top of his head. Like, I don't understand why you feel that way. Why can't you just do whatever you want to do? Like, I don't get it. And like that kind of villain is kind of fun too. That like just has no compunctions about doing the thing. Like, they're not dumb about it, but they have no guilt. They have no moral compass.
It's just what they want. They don't care what other people want.
Yeah.
It's like that character is like the epitome of self-centeredness.
Yeah.
And everybody else can go to hell.
The epitome, even of that. Yeah. But like, he's like a textbook sociopath that has no sort of no empathy at all with other human beings.
Yeah, to differentiate yours from mine, I would say mine's more obsessive with something particular that he wants to see come to pass, while yours is just like, hey, it feels good, do it.
No, I mean, there are certain things he didn't wantonly go do things, but if he had a thing that he wanted to come to pass, it was all about the ends to that thing, and he didn't care who he hurt or what atrocious things he did to make those things happen. So I mean, like, he wasn't just doing bad things to do bad things. Like he wanted certain things to happen, and he darn well made sure that those things.
Unless he was having a temper tantrum.
Right? Yeah. I mean, there's that too.
Yeah, because some of the things he does is pretty horrible for minor infractions.
Yeah.
Like someone annoyed him.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's true too. But I mean, that's just that being that level of horrendous is just like, I have no problem with making somebody like do this awful self-mutilation thing.
Yeah. So that character is kind of he's a sociopath and very reactive. Like, he has the one thing that he's obsessed and focused on, but everything else that happens around him, he's kind of reactive to.
We're working very well not actually spoiling anything that happens.
Yeah.
So.
Whereas I think what Nate's talking about is this character has an overarching plan and goal, and he doesn't care about the consequences to others, in implementing that goal.
It's not that he doesn't care, it's that he has deemed them a lower priority.
So he's Kingpin from Daredevil, basically. Like he's, like Kingpin cares about the community and the development of the community, but if he's got to break some eggs to make the omelet, he's absolutely about breaking some eggs. So,
where I definitely like that character where Dr. Freeze is the same way. Like, he just wants to save his his wife, and he doesn't really care about the consequences. He, you know, in his mind, you know, there's no greater right or cause than doing that. Or Magneto, who, you know, who basically, you know, equates humanity to basically Nazis, you know, and
Well, I mean, with his
Jews.
backstory, that's exactly what happened
he's
to his family.
he's drawn the line on how things are going to play out and who's on which side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but he's also lived through the concentration camp experience. So, like, this is a guy that had real life experience. So he's got absolute motivation for the beliefs that he has. So no, Magneto is, you know, the noble villain. I also like megalomaniacs like a Doctor Doom. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, the world will be just so much better once I take over. Like that, you know, that's a kind of cool character and villain to have too.
Well, yeah, like yeah, from that standpoint, his you know, he needs to impose supreme order upon everything that he surveys in order for it to be right, and that is what is best for everyone.
It'll be
in his
utopia
mind.
once I roll. Yeah.
Is that like Lord Business? All I want is total perfection.
Who is Lord Business?
Oh, you didn't see the Lego movie?
No.
You should just see it. It's funny. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I did see it, but I don't remember. Yeah, order. Yeah, basically, if I impose order, everything will be good.
Yeah.
The crackle.
Yeah, so Doctor Doom, Lord Business.
And then sometimes too, like just you know, if you want to sprinkle some comedy into your game, like the comic relief, like you take the villain from The Incredibles, which you kind of did in your Witch Hunter game, where like it was the lackey of the villain every single time, and eventually he came into power and became the villain. Yeah, like so that like that was an interesting thing. It's like
that was funny.
Yeah, so like you could have that twist in your game where like always have the bumbling lackey like shows up again and again to different villains, but he always manages to get away and survive, and eventually some sessions later he's the villain. So like the recurring villain is also a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, with that it was very much in like Mutants and Masterminds. They give you archetypes. And one of the archetypes they use is jumped up loser, right? And they basically just describe the nobody character that all of a sudden comes, you know, has all of this power thrust upon them. And then, you know, and then they act out with it. The problem is, and it's also done in, R.A. Salvatore uses it as well in,
that first trilogy.
His first trilogy.
The something Crystal Shard trilogy, yeah.
You know, is the same concept. But, you know, and at the end of the day, the problem is, even though this character has all this power, he still is who he is.
Yeah.
You know, so he's ultimately going to be a loser and fail.
Right.
But, yeah, so that one was actually pretty fun to play with, and I haven't really used that one in the past. You know, so there's tons of different ways you can go with your villains and make them villainous, and even add comedy, as you said, to the scenario.
Yeah, like the villain monologuing is a good way to do that. Like, you know, like where the archer of the party is just like putting an arrow in his head while the villain's trying to monologue, and he just gets very put out that he's being attacked while he's monologuing. It's so disheartening. It's hard to be a villain these days.
Or, you know, or you could even just have them have ridiculous goals that don't even make sense, but they're creating, you know, all this havoc to make them happen.
To like make a Fabergé egg, or like a very elaborate Fabergé egg somehow.
Artifact level Fabergé egg.
Yeah.
That has to be soaked in the blood of virgins or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. So let's get this conversation going down in the comments below. What kind of villains do you like? What do your players like, or what do you like using as a GM? Let us know while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
Check it out over on nerdarchy.com.
And you can also patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.